So one of the things I see a lot of Muslim entrepreneurs really struggle with is their self-esteem. So when you're trying to build a business or you're trying to do something great in entrepreneurship, if you don't have strong self-esteem, if you don't have this unwavering belief within yourself, it's very unlikely that you're going to succeed. And the reason I say that is because as an entrepreneur, a lot of the time, there is no evidence, there is no proof, there is no guarantee, there is no certainty in what you do and what you're building. So it requires a lot from within yourself. That's why I always say that 90% of being an entrepreneur is your mindset, is your confidence and your belief that you can actually make the thing happen. And I think it goes so hand in hand with Islam, because when we think about it, when we're trying to fix our iman or we're trying to get closer to God, get closer to Allah, you're like the analogy or the visual example of a cup that has darkness, right? That, let's say you filled the cup with coffee beans, and the liquid in the cup was black. If you go and put that cup under a faucet and you turn the faucet on, that water is going to hit the cup, and it's not going to just be cleansed and purified so quickly. It's going to take time. So in the same way that you go and put the reps in, do fajr, pray your 5 daily prayers, make repentance, work hard as a Muslim, seek knowledge, do all these very important, critical things that allow you to develop not only character, but the discipline. Right now you have this certain self-esteem of, I am a person who can show up daily, who can pray 5 times a day, who can do the things that are required to be a successful Muslim. Entrepreneurship is the same way, right? As Muslims, there is no certainty in what we do. We just have to have tawakkul and do the absolute best that we can, and the rest is in Allah's hands. And as an entrepreneur, you're essentially doing the same thing. You just have to do the inputs that matter, right? Are you doing 100 minutes of outreach a day? Are you posting an ad and spending $100 a day? Are you doing 100 cold calls, doing 100 cold outreaches? Are you doing the things that actually move the needle forward and allow your business to scale and grow? If the answer is no, then there's no way you're going to develop the character, and not only the character, but the discipline, as well as realizing that you suck in the beginning just like everybody else. It doesn't matter how big of an entrepreneur. At some point, every entrepreneur sucked at the thing that they have become great at, right? So in knowing that, you're not going to develop confidence in it unless you do it for many, many hours stacked on top of each other, many months and many years, right? The most successful people in the world accumulate tons of knowledge about their domain or their given expertise. They develop years and decades of practice, right? The masters, the true masters of their craft, they develop so much time within that practicing and generating knowledge, and eventually they become talented at it. Of course, you develop the confidence and the skill and the self-esteem because you've consistently proven to yourself that you can show up when it's uncertain and when it's difficult, and when there's no guarantee that you're going to succeed. You're going to look really dumb as an entrepreneur. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you believe in life. If you want to make it as an entrepreneur, you have to understand that it may require failing and learning and sucking at it in the beginning, right? In my own personal journey, I started 9 different businesses that failed, and then the 10th one actually started to gain traction and work, right? There was glimpses of, when I was younger, glimpses of things that I did that led me and gave me, these signals of wanting to become an entrepreneur. For example, selling golf balls to my neighbors when I was younger, to building my first, video production course in high school, and that ended up generating a lot of money, and it led me down different paths as an entrepreneur. But that's not mentioning the graveyard, right, of things that had to happen before I built a 50K a month agency and before I consistently built 40K a month consulting businesses. I've built 2 of them before, as well as consulted major enterprise companies, right? None of that came before the graveyard of failures, starting a failed service business, a failed clothing brand, and so on. So again, I can't develop confidence in sales, in marketing, in running ads if I don't put the reps in and I don't put the time to actually become good at it, right? Your self-esteem grows when you show up, when you have tawakkul, when you trust God's plan, and your self-esteem gets better when you consistently show up regardless of the result, and you do so much volume at the end of the day that it's unlikely for you to fail, right? If you're genuinely doing 100 minutes of content every day, or you're genuinely doing $100 in paid ads, and you're scaling that over time as your profit margin, you look at your metrics, make sure it's all in line, and you're consistently scaling that, you start off with $100 a day ad budget. Next thing you know, you're managing $1,000, $10,000 a day ad budget. That's how you get better at that given skill. And if you aren't doing any of those, the thing that you can do for free, and organic client acquisition can happen for free as well, right? If you're posting 100 minutes of content, you can simply do it from an iPhone, right? You don't have to spend money or build a team to create content. You could create it yourself. But if you're genuinely spending, your day doing 100 cold outreaches, your first 1,000 outreaches, if you're new to this, is going to suck. You're going to get ignored, of course, right? But even with that kind of volume, you will get responses. You will set a few meetings. You will close a few deals. So that's the idea here, is that in order for you to build your self-esteem, you can't be locked in your room. You can't be an overthinker. You can't be an overplanner, a strategizer. Like, you've watched enough stuff. You've consumed enough. It's time for you to act on what you've consumed. And once you act on what you've consumed, you develop the character traits of somebody who's a doer, who's an executor. And naturally, when you're an executor, your progress improves, right? You get better at the thing. If I want to become a speaker, I can't just read books about how to become a speaker and think that that's going to allow me to become a fantastic speaker. I have to daily practice speaking for 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours a day, whether it's putting up a camera and speaking into that camera, or it's going to Toastmasters and going to public events, or getting practice on stage in front of a crowd. That is how I become a better speaker. I get feedback from teachers, from people I might pay to teach me to develop that skill. Expertise, specialized expertise is the name of the game, right? You go and pay somebody an expensive number so that they can shortcut the many years that you might spend learning the wrong things. Instead, they can teach you the things that will actually allow you to move the needle forward. So that's what it is. Your self-esteem grows through action. Your self-esteem grows through you being 1% better every single day and being in the trenches. Like, if I want to be a YouTuber, I'm going to obsess over thumbnails, titles, retention, hook structures, and the value I'm actually providing in the content. That's how I become a better YouTuber. And I post my first 100 videos without looking at data. And then I wait, and every day I try to improve 1% better within that process. And even if you have a team of friends that are helping you do it, of course you're going to find success. Of course you're going to be confident. Of course your self-esteem is going to grow. So the growth within your self-esteem will happen when you are somebody who can wake up and show up. The rest will follow. You wake up as a Muslim, you have tawakkul, you trust Allah's plan, you do your 5 daily prayers, you avoid the haram, you do good, and you just do that long enough until your heart is purified, until your heart is clean, and you think clearly and you make better choices. Because ultimately life is about choices. And if you want to have a beautiful life, you have to make beautiful choices. And that develops your character and that develops your self-esteem. And again, the same thing in business. If you want to find success in business, you have to be the person who shows up consistently and improves and gets 1% better every single day. And that is how you grow your self-esteem. There's nothing more to it. You can't learn about growing your self-esteem. You grow your self-esteem by speaking to people, by putting stuff out into the world, by trying, by failing, by learning, and so on. So I hope this video inspired you to just wake up and create and execute and do something different today. Because again, you sitting around and strategizing and pondering is not going to do anything for you other than continuously make you overthink. And yeah, you can't be somebody who walks and talks their domain or their area of expertise if you haven't applied decades to that area of expertise or applied hundreds and hundreds of hours. So that's how you grow your self-esteem. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, anything I could speak on, please feel free to share it in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.